Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Lens with Advanced Design. I'm Hector Silva. Today's guest is the one and only Carl André Nørstebø, co-founder of Eggs Design, Scandinavia's biggest independent design agency. And thank you so much for being here. Carl is a creative director of industrial design at Eggs, and he will show us some examples of what he calls modern Scandinavian design, both projects and processes. The main focus will be on how to build a great design agency. We are super excited for him to join us this afternoon or this evening if you're in Scandinavian time. Carl, I'm going to hand over things to you. Thank you so much for being on Lens.
Thank you so much, Hector. And yeah, thank you so much to you and your team and Advanced Design for doing your stuff. And I've been checking some of these Lens sessions and it's so good. It's so good. And thanks for creating all the other, touch points in the community, like the conferences and the different accounts. And now even the Discord, I'll try to be there. Maybe I'll see if I have time.
Appreciate it. And for those who are tuning in, thank you for your time. Please, if you have any questions during his presentation, start asking them in the Q&A and I will surely integrate them into our conversation. So I'm going to hand things over to Carl, and Carl, you can kind of take it from there.
All right, I'll try to share my screen then. Okay, let's see. Okay, please tell me when you see it.
You are good to go, sir.
Oh, Zoom is so fast. Okay. Okay, thanks, man. And yeah, so a frequently asked questions I get a lot out of many questions, of course, is like where do you find your inspiration, Carl, as a designer? And I go like, first time I got that question, I was like, is it in the forest, in the nature, or by the lake, or is it in the shower, or is it Pinterest or Instagram? And while I'm thinking like I have to analyze myself, and I'm thinking like, where do I get the most joy? And I'm thinking I get the most inspiration when I hear an end user telling me something they struggle with. You're interviewing or observing an end user, and they're telling you stuff they struggle with. That's inspiring. But then, let's see. So my conclusion is like, it's people that inspire me, but also then people that are my colleagues and coworkers. And so Valeria is an example of a person that inspires me a lot. She has so many new perspectives on things, and she's really stepping up her game the last years. She's an awesome designer, UX, UI, service design, and lately she's been stepping up to do those huge holistic projects as a project manager. She's so unafraid and intelligent and funny personality. Then you have this guy, Bendik. He's been with us half a year. He's an intern at Eggs, and even though like he was born when I went to design school, so he's that much younger than me, but he's like he's so smart. He knows a lot about a lot, and he has so many different perspectives than me. So he inspires me to so much every single day and week. This is also a reason why I look forward to getting to work each day. And then you have this guy, Sebastiano. He nothing beats him at customer experience, and he's the chef at our Trondheim office. And he's so positive, and he handles every unexpected situation in a perfect way. These are just 3 examples of people that inspire me every single day, and I'm going to talk today about the people that are my co-workers and why it's important to focus on the people in a company and to make a great company culture. And so many of you might know me better as Cadabra Carl on Instagram, but as you, Hector, said, I co-founded Eggs Design like 16 years ago, and today I'm a designer and partner, but I am also the creative director of industrial design, which means the 15 designers in Eggs that work with hardware every single day. Okay, so the agenda today is three things. I mean, the headline today is number 3, like how to design a design studio with the focus on the people. But I'm just going to talk quite a lot actually about Eggs design in the beginning. For those who don't know Eggs design, or maybe for those of you who know a little but haven't seen everything. Then number 2, I'm going to shortly go through my story. Then I'll share you some personal details from my life and why I got into this. And then we get to the deep reflection and philosophic session in the end, where I would like a lot of questions. Okay, let's go about Eggs design first. So I'll try to go fast. I'm going to use 30 or 40 minutes in total. So independent is a key word actually, because we own ourselves. Like me, I own 10% still, and Espen, the face in the picture here, my co-founder as well, he owns 10%, and so we're independent innovation consultancy. Yeah, so that's different than a design studio, but it's kind of the same thing, right? So we're helping clients to craft new products and services and business transformations. Yay! But we are a very multidisciplinary team. We're 115 people from over 20 plus different nationalities, and we're laughing really hard on this image, and and I just remember what I did to take this photo. I think yeah, that's the thing you can see on my colleague Carl Gustav in the back there. I told everyone to hold their breath, and then somebody made a noise, and so that's when we had to take the picture. Okay, anyway, Eggs in numbers. We're like old and have plenty of awards, and 150 people, and just have to, there's a kind of an error here because it says a $sign here on top and it says 125, but that's in the Norwegian koronas, or kroner, which is called. So this year I think we'll have 130 million kroner as a revenue, and you could just divide it to 10 to get US dollars. Okay, so this year we'll get 13 million US dollars as a revenue, and plenty of customers. We have 5 offices around the world, and I work in the one which is in the middle here. Around the world, I mean Scandinavia, or I mean Norway and Denmark basically. But I work in the one in the middle, which is called Trondheim. Get back to that later, which is also in the middle of Norway, by the way. And speaking of reasons to get up in the morning and get to work, it's because this phrase catches it all. I think it's the big why. It's Eggs' purpose statement. It's let's craft lovable futures, and I really want to get into this, the meaning of these words, these 5 words, and the 2 first words, like let us. I think that communicates that means to me that we're a consultancy, so we're helping others, or we are collaborating on doing something innovative for the future. So let us innovate together. Number 2 is really important. Craft. With craft, we mean, the craft of the design work. Like many companies of our size, over 100 people, are getting more and more into management consultant work, and then maybe less and less design craft, and more Excel sheets, and it's very, very important for us to say that we came from industrial design, and we still do industrial design and also digital design craft work. That's the fundament of what we do. So that's why the word craft is there. Lovable is, of course, to make a future that is sustainable in the broadest sense, both equality and also for like the environment, but also lovable for the from the user's perspective, from all the stakeholders. And futures, of course, is because that's what we do every day. We're creating the new services for the future products. So let's craft lovable futures. All right. So how can we sum up what Eggs does in one illustration almost? I think I would rather say that we're taking responsibility for the whole user experience. Okay, like we do branding, we do naming, visual identities, business design. We do digital design, UX, UI, and service design, and even front-end development and industrial design and mechanical engineering. So this is the reason why we are able to be over 100 people, because we do a lot of different design disciplines. And yeah, lean, mean, design-driven innovation machine. Okay. The pyramid of holistic impact. So it's a model we use sometimes. And again, the form and craft of what we do, the design craft is the fundament of where we came from. But number two, the last 10 years, a lot of challenges are more and more open, how to get more people to vote. It's an open challenge. And this we love as designers, especially also in eggs. And so the outcome, you don't really know if it's a service, if it's a physical or a digital product, or if it's a combination of those. It's creative problem solving. And on the top, we see that we get more and more into those boardrooms. So we are able to participate on the strategic transformation of companies, when they go from producing hardware to producing, maybe even software as a service sometimes. All right. This we do within many domains, and we're living in Norway. And Norway, I live in Norway. We have offices in Norway and Denmark. And Norway is special because it's different than, let's say, Sweden, because Sweden has those commercialized, consumer brands like Volvo and Spotify. But in Norway, it's more like not so much of those. We have more industry, and there's ocean tech, like we call it. This domain here is mainly consists of, fish farming and oil and gas and shipping and boats and stuff like that. So that we do a lot. I'll show a lot of examples of that. And we do a lot of med tech and health services, which is another domain which we love. And then we do lots of projects within mobility, and then banking, finance, and smart living, smart homes and smart cities, and also public services. And so I'm going to go right into showing you like 8 different project examples. And since I am, the director of industrial design and hardware, and I know a lot of you people listening work with hardware, so I'm going to show you mostly hardware projects. But I just said that we are 16 people out of the 115 in eggs working with that. So yeah. But those are, of course, cool projects. And maybe most important is to say that those are holistic projects, like this project here, it contains all the different aspects, all the different design disciplines of eggs, you can say. So Blue Eye is an underwater drone. And it's basically, you drive it underwater to, look at things or inspect stuff, or even take selfies of your vlog videos while you're diving. So we made the whole hardware product, and during thorough research of thrusters and propellers and stuff like that, we made it like kind of tall like this. And so we genuinely think we have the best design in the world for underwater drone right now. They switched their focus from being like a cheap consumer product to now they're selling for business to business industry. And that is like kind of a description for eggs, that we're doing a lot of business to business and industry stuff. We do a lot of consumer stuff as well, but very much business to business. Maybe, I don't know, 70% B2B and 30% B2C. I don't know, maybe. The thing is that like this piece of hardware, it contains like packaging and unboxing experience and lots of accessories, of course. And we did all the mechanical engineering of those, maybe 20 molds. But the user experience comes when you get a good view of what the drone sees. When you see what the drone sees, when the drone enables you to have eyes underwater, okay? So if you have a good view of what you want to see, and you have a safe navigation, then you have a good user experience as well. So we had to design a good and intuitive user interface and digital design. Yeah. And we also did the naming and the branding, and we also have, stocks in this company and board positions and stuff like that. So we went all in this company, the startup. Another underwater thing is, oh, I have to go. Like I said, Norway is the biggest fish farming. We're kind of, taking advantage of our country, I guess, and then we're taking responsibility for feeding the world with fish and vitamins and protein that comes from salmon. And uh, sustainability wise, it's still a long way to go here as well. But I think so far it's still more sustainable than red meat and cows, and also more healthy for the body. So there's a lot of research going on and product development within this industry. And basically, one of the biggest threats to a salmon is that it has a lice and that could kill it and parasites. So this hyperspectral camera is underwater and filming the salmon as they swim by, and then they can get a good overview of what kind of lice that are attacking the salmon. And then just the cool section view to show our clients that we do mechanical engineering. Also a holistic, we came up with the name Spectralize together with the client, and also did branding and UI here as well. AirThings is a cool project because it's air sensors for your home. So each and every one of you that are listening, maybe like say some of you have a house that's standing on the ground, maybe some rocks, and then there's the gas called radon that might be there. You don't know. So this company started out as to make radon measurements in your house available to everyone. So we made a first sensor and the app so that you can take easy measures if you discover high levels of radon one day. That's easy measures is just open the window. So after that, they kind of expanded to having lots of other sensors to measure indoor quality air. So they're basically a health company monitoring indoor air quality. And you can get this product in the US as well on Walmart or Amazon and stuff like that. I think it was really important for us to make the app, the digital and the physical experience pretty similar. So, okay, this is a cool project. It's made for one of the world's biggest paper and soap brands. It's called Katrin, and at least here in Norway and Europe, it's the competitors are Torki and Katrin, I think. And so we made 10 different products. Dispensers for soap and paper. And we used here a process that a lot of you know. It's called inclusive design method. So we invited users with very many different backgrounds and perspectives and physical abilities. So first of all, you have all the stakeholders, the decision maker, the installer, the janitor, the cleaner, and stuff like that. And then you have people with different physical abilities, like kids and very old people, wheelchair-bound people, rheumatism, and so on. So the reason why the back bracket, for instance, like this is just one of 50 different innovations in the product. The reason why the back bracket is transparent is because it's easier for the installer to level it up when he or she is going to mount it to the wall. And the next thing is that it's easier to see with your own eyes if it's running out of paper or soap. And the last thing is that it gives the product this kind of differentiator CMF-wise from the competitor. So that's just one story out of many from that product. This is one of my favorites. This, wheelchair. Products for people who have less functionality in parts of the body, they often look ugly and then they're stigmatizing, and I don't like that. So why shouldn't a wheelchair look like the coolest specialized carbon bike you get out there? So I really want to design medical aids. And now we got the chance to do that. And I don't have a picture of what the startup came to us with. It's often a very functional technical prototype, and our challenge was, of course, to make it producible and sexy, and make a great name and a brand for it as well. So here are some photos from that process. It's actually a little bit weird not hearing the audience here, but we'll get back to that later. Okay, over to something completely different. Like I said, like we're a kind of, it's just a boat nation and a sea nation, ocean, everything's ocean. So we made a concept. This time we made it in Norway, but the concept was for Tunisia, a lake down there, and and it's solar driven, and it's a passenger ferry, but it's also it's a combination of a tourist boat and also a taxi boat that can get you somewhere. So here's some of the concept development from that, and also some of the prototyping in one-to-one in our lunchroom in Eggs Oslo. And then it's kind of working with interior design and transportation design, only it's for boats. And I don't know, we don't do cars in Eggs, but we do boats, and we do bikes, and so I think it's important to say that furniture design can also be a toilet, transportation design can also be a boat or a bike. There's some more shots of that one. I hope it's being built right now. I actually don't have the latest update. Okay, over to completely different again. This is a story. This is a digital story, and LoadSmart is a startup that came to us. They were a startup in New York, and the thing is that they're making truck shipping smart. Okay, so they're using artificial intelligence to combine shippers and trucks let's say in the US. So let's say you wanna ship a lot of tons of stuff from one place to the other, and so how it used to be was that it took an average of 5 hours to execute each shipment. Staying manually on the phone, connecting, calling around, and connecting and talking to people. So we engaged in an innovative process, and this was the result. I told you in the beginning I was going to show a better process as well, but I guess I had to cut that stuff. So we're getting back to more good stuff later. Yeah, this is the result, and digital interfaces with a name and a visual identity on different touch points, like we always do. But the effects here are just amazing. Like, not only did you save like millions of tons of CO2, but the average speed of connecting, executing a shipment is 17 times faster, and there's 93% less weight. And most important of all, there's very, very many fewer, less empty trucks on the road polluting the air. Over to, I guess, boats again. Rolls-Royce has a department in Norway that is called Rolls-Royce Marine, and they had a digital challenge, to say the least. Like, they had so many user interfaces that needed to be updated, but also to look the same, because they had one user interface per machine, like 10 different machines and purposes. So we updated the looks with a new visual identity, and they made all the UI and UX principles look the same on all different platforms. And here you see some examples of that. It's about making, I would say it's about making the tools you use on a professional, on your job, to be as easy as the one you use when you're at home. This is one of our main philosophies when we work with B2B in the industry. Yeah, again, a lot of different touch points, and even like a center where you have this fancy stuff on the wall. Yeah. Okay, I've been finished with the project now. We designed an airport, actually, Oslo Airport, and we did not do the architecture. That's really important to say, but we service designed the whole airport to try to be the best one in the world when it comes to user experience and the passenger experience. So we trained 20,000 employees on like 1,000 different jobs. As you can imagine, there's 1,000 different roles of jobs you can have in an airport. So we included some of them in lots of workshops, and we ended up training all of them through a service design program, so that they can give the same experience to the passengers that travel. And so please, if you have a crappy airport near you, just call us. We know this. And that was it, like, from Eggs, but about Eggs, like, but my colleague Paul, he just made this fancy sum up of some of the key projects that we have. And a key project for Eggs is that it's holistic. It uses a lot of the different design disciplines to create the best user experience for on all touch points. And so, animation. And I think it was a cool. Those axes are cool because in at least it makes us think, because in our own opinion, we're working more with complex systems than traditional products, and we're working more with transformative innovation than incremental innovation. That is, of course, is in our own opinion, but it's a really cool reflection exercise. And also it's cool to see that what kind of future megatrends are we working with and technologies. Like, on all of these key projects, the main thing is that we're working with Internet of Things and digitalization, but on many of them, we're working with some kind of sustainability in the broadest sense, and, you know, organization development and stuff like that. Okay. If you were audience now, I would say any questions, and yeah, anyway. Okay. This will go a bit faster and it's more personal, and please ask me anything afterwards. Yeah. Anyway, I'm 42, and when in 1998 something huge happened in my life. It was very important. I moved to Trondheim, and I remember watching the latest episode of Lens. And in nonfiction, this guy, that was a great episode, by the way. And this guy, Martis, he was talking about where he was from in Illinois. He said he's from a small town where there's like 160,000 inhabitants, but every year it comes 40,000 students. And that I find really cool. I could really relate to him right there and then, because we live in a super dynamic city with lots of students, and it's really innovative, lots of startups, lots of tech, and also lots of med tech, because it's a huge hospital here. So really exciting place to live. But anyway, this was like 22 years ago. That's when I moved to Trondheim because my father recommended it. I guess it was because of the university, but maybe he didn't want me home anymore. Or a slight push out of the nest there. And okay. Trondheim, here's Europe, and here's the top dot here. For those who don't have this clearly, like, Trondheim is kind of in the middle of Norway, and I'm from the south of Norway, and this dot down here is because I had one Erasmus exchange year at the Elisava school in Barcelona in 2003. Anyway, the study at the university was called technical design, and here's the reason why. This is one of many courses in this engineering university, which was called mechatronics. And then, but they changed the name later to Master of Science in Industrial Design Engineering. So that's me, yeah. As you can probably imagine, like, studying was great. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to be physically present in the classroom. I mean, shout out and respect and hope to all of you students out there who are in a difficult time right now because you have to, study at home, or lots of stuff happening with the universities. But I was lucky enough to have that physical part. Anyway, in 2004, it was then that we started this whole thing. Classmates, 4 classmates in the class, we didn't get normal jobs. There was, at that time, we couldn't get jobs. There was we had to convince the world about industrial design, what we are, what we do, what is design thinking. And so we were joking around about starting ourselves, and so we did it. So a thing you can notice here is that we're slightly different personalities, but the other things are totally equal, like same age, same gender, same color, same class, same everything. So there was not much of diversity at that time. And so you had to do what a startup normally does, make your own visual identity, and then eat we basically continued as students for 2 more years without any salary. We only used more student loans, and we loaned from our parents, and there was 16-hour days. And so you can achieve a lot by working 16-hour days. And of course, I had a lot of fun because there was no kids and not that many girlfriends. Only two had girlfriends at the time. So, but on a serious note, like the skills we had, like using 16 hours every day and being good designers, we rapidly within a year we got a good reputation in Scandinavia for being, awesome, and then doing good work. I mean, and so we grew a bit. We grew from 7 to 8 persons maybe. But then in 2011, our CEO, our dear friend from all our life, he decided to quit. What a bastard! And I mean, he's back in eggs now, but when he quit, there was a crisis. But Ulla, my boss now, she's actually the team here now, but she has a saying that says, never waste a good crisis. And so I guess one of us got the idea that now let's look for a real CEO, like a person that has experience and within, leadership and economics and strategy and stuff like that, not just choose one of our startup designers to do that. And after a long time, talking to a lot of people, we found these genius of a team from Oslo called Oslo D, where Ulla and Paul and their team worked. And so we ended up merging our 2 companies. And nobody wanted to take the other company's name, so we invented a new one: Eggs Design Live 2 Ideas. Here's a picture of our first celebration together when we won our big project together. So good time. Oh, another like more stock photo-ish picture of us. Okay. Anyway, more seriously, we were on a quest to make the world's best creative nest, because as I said, when I started in 2004, there were no jobs, and those who there were jobs, few. And design agencies that were 2 or 3 or 4 people, they were treated bad. They were treated like you had to do pitching and competitions for free. And so we set out to professionalize this industry and say, we're going to be a freaking consultancy, and we're going to have all the things that a normal workplace has and more. And it's going to be the best place to work for a creative in the world. Another thing which is really important is that we wanted to bring design where it adds most value. And you might see a pattern here, like where we came from Norway and we do a lot of business to business design. So a lot of industries that we work with have never heard of design before. And we wanted to handle holistic projects. Okay, a bit of numbers again. Like this is, it's always exciting. So again, if you take the Norwegian money and you just divide it to 10, you get the US dollars. So Cadabra years, 2004 to 10 or 11, we earned like per year, you can see we earned $400,000, kind of, yeah. And then eggs came in the picture, like, so, and you see what happens with those curves then, like in 2011. And what's the reason for that? Like, so there are many reasons, I think, that, and as I said, like our revenue this year, I think will be in 2020, maybe 13 million US dollars, maybe. But how is it that we like grew so much faster? I think parts of it was that the market was changing and there was a bigger demand for design, holistic designers, multidisciplinary designers, design thinkers, and stuff like that. But it's also that we met a professional CEO, Ulla Sommerfeld. Oh my God, I admire her. She and her team also came with so many new perspectives on how to do business in a consultancy. But I also think that like diversity in competence and also culture is much of the reason why it went much better after becoming X Design. So diversity is a direct reason for economic growth, people in my company. And here we are. Like one of the cool things that happened lately is that we found an old church, which is not a church anymore, and we refurbished the whole thing, and we made it. We tried to make like the physical studio space to be the world's best creative nest as well. And so this is actually a meeting place for the city, like for different competences to meet and mingle and drink and discuss. And so this also really inspires me to get to work every day, of course. All right, how are you all doing? Yeah. As you can see, I'm at the last point, but the most important point. And here we're going to go into full reflection, philosophic mode. And I'm not going to have any, what I call the stock photos of eggs designers laugh. It's genuine laughter, by the way. But anyway, this is when we get to how to design a design studio. And there's so much things I could talk about still, like when you're gonna set up a design studio or run it in an efficient, cool way. But like how to get clients or what's your hourly rate and stuff like that. But I guess I could make modules of lectures, and you can book me later for some kind of things to talk about those themes. And I even got requests for, I'm not going to talk to, especially not today, talking about Instagram or sketching with kids or favorite object or portfolios or anything like that. But let's go, because what I really want to talk about is I have only worked one place in my whole entire life, like 16 years in eggs. So I only know eggs. So that's why it's slightly different for me to see it in perspective. But that's why I'm going to talk about eggs and what I heard about us. And I'm going to turn that into an 8-point list on how to design a design studio. So what I really want to focus on is how do we in eggs work with people and the culture. And that all the people in eggs make the culture together, and yeah, of course, our continuous strive to be the world's best creativeness, because we're never gonna be there. Oh yeah, we can actually reach that goal maybe. Anyway, number one, we have 4 values in eggs design, and the one that is used the most is dare to share, and that means a lot to us. Dare to share, it's on so many levels. Like we say dare to share to each other every day, because we say like, oh, you need to share that story from that client meeting or that episode. Oh, you need to share that method that worked so well, or that presentation. That you need to share your knowledge. But that's maybe not the most important thing I want to talk about now, because it's cool to share good stuff and knowledge and all that thing, but it's also really, really cool to share the low fives and mistakes. And we do that a lot in eggs. And to me, like talking about influencing, let's say on Instagram, and I really appreciate watching people that are vulnerable. So if you ask me, like, if you have vulnerability, you have reached the highest level of influencing, kind of, because you dare to share your more negative sides. You dare to show that you are also a human, and people love that. And it's also a tool to get you closer to each other, because I mean, why am I talking about people and culture and making a great company culture? It's because you spend so many hours there of your life, and so why not make it great? That's the thing, And so there's actually, I think, something called compassionate leadership. And so empathy is one thing. Like if you see someone there have some problems, your coworker is sad, and then you have empathy, you understand. But compassion is next level stuff. Like compassion is empathy plus doing some action out of it. So as a leader, if you see something, you have to do an action out of it to try to compensate for that, what you see. I think it's important to get really close to each other at the workplace, to really get to know each other on all levels, so that everyone can feel safe at the workplace. Like low shoulders, feeling safe, relaxed, so you can be the best person and the best work you can ever do. So a lot of people tell me about other workplaces where there's, hierarchy and fear. It's like a fear-driven organizations, and it's just this is the direct opposite of what we're trying to achieve, right? And and then I put feedback as an on point number two. I think that tip for me is like in a way, I practice a lot of feedback. Like everybody practices giving feedback and taking feedback. We're taking courses of different kinds. It's really fun, and then we practice giving feedback and we practice receiving feedback, and it's really it brings us closer together as well to get that fuzzy, creative, family feeling. And to me, there's four kinds of feedback. It's giving positive and giving negative, and it's receiving positive and receiving negative. And for some people, it's the most difficult part is receiving positive feedback. I don't understand that at all because I love that, of course. My problem is more giving negative feedback. So this is what I have to practice a lot. Like, how do you give constructive negative feedback of what could be better without always having to say something positive? So I dare you, if somebody of you watching this is going to give me feedback afterwards and you're thinking of only giving something positive, then I say to you, you have to say something that could have been better as well. Thank you. Then you're helping me, We also use a software in X called Office Vibe. You should really check it out. And it's a service that's, it's kind of an artificial intelligence that facilitates the process with us. So we can give our inputs to the software, and it sends out an email to every single 100 employees 2 times a month. And then you can be anonymous, and you can say whatever you want as a feedback to the managers or in X there. And you can stay anonymous throughout the whole discussion when you're the leader answers and stuff like that. Number 3. So the last couple of months, I received 2 great feedbacks that that is like so humbling, and I was so touched by it, and I drew it here. There were 2 younger designers, 2 different times that said to me, "You were a good leader," and to me, I don't feel like I work with leadership so much, but it's like, and then I asked why. What do you mean? Like, and they said, it's because you trusted me. You pushed me out there, and you said, "Of course you can do it." Like, and I remember now, I gave them the project management role, and I said, "Of course you can take that meeting if you're comfortable with that, or you can travel there, or of course you do the presentation." And I think in Eggs we're trying to put the younger, hungry people in front as much as we can, because every single one in my company is handpicked because they have X factor, as we call it, and so we trust them. I automatically trust my new employees because they are quality assured in the process. And so I'm just thinking like, and to me that's the ultimatum. That's the no, not ultimatum. I mean, that's the ultimate perfect situation is if somebody can take the responsibility for something and just run with it, because I trust them, and yeah. Number 4, and so I have to remind you now that there's 5 left. I guess I have this point because to say that leadership is a skill. You can do courses, and you can and you can even think of if you have a leader, like everybody has a leader, so you can also make your leader better by giving feedback and talking about leadership. How do you want to be led? And my leader, still my leader, which we met in 2011, Ulla Sommerfeld, she inspires me a lot, and she says that the role of a leader is to inspire and to be a good role model, and of course point the company in the right direction, like working with strategy, and then to help and serve, but then get the hell out of the way, because then all the creatives of the company will do their thing because they know they're trusted, they are relaxed, they believe in each other, and so amazing things can happen, innovation can happen. Um, Number five, when you're a company over 100 people, you have to have structure. So we have something called a nest, which are brilliant people. You know, I call them people, and it's human relations manager, office managers, etc., etc. And and those are so brilliant. You know, they have skills that I don't have at all. You know, they put all of these ideas of how to do the employee experience into a structure, and so they never miss a point. You know, never miss a beat. And so I just talked to another intern recently, and I just asked him really quick. I said, "I'm going on Lens, but do you have anything to say? What's the thing about eggs?" And he said, "Oh, the first thing that comes into mind is the onboarding. Like it was so structured. There was a module for everything. There was a module for marketing. There was a module for industrial design, and so structuring the employee experience or the customer journey, as we're talking about, I really recommend doing that. Don't be afraid of structure. You can put creativity into structure, as many of you know. And so social things as well, like when you have a relative that passed away, so something sad happening in your life, then you get flowers to your door. And also if you're sick, you get maybe a breakfast at your door. And they just do these amazing things. Next thing is, like, we're service designers. Of course, we will create our own customer journey, or we call it employee journey. Okay. And that's divided into a chronological order, like before, during, and after. So before, we have venues and events, like we call it first Friday of every month. We have lectures and beers. We used to have anyway, like in Corona times. It's coming back soon, I hope. And then we meet colleagues in the industry. We don't call them competitors. We call them colleagues in the industry. And so many people have been hired that way. We also work a lot with how to formulate the job advertisements that we put out, and the interview process and the hiring process, of course, they're very important. And we're looking for people with X factor, as I said, like in short. But maybe the most important is that we have a cultural interview to see if people match with our values. You know, we want big diversity, but we also want to uh, to have people that actually communicate and are not assholes. So it's important to have this cultural interview. And then when you sign with us, immediately you're into going on all the trips that you can and stuff like that. And then, as I said, during the stay here, you have the onboarding, which is structured, and after, uh, you get a boomerang as a gift, and then you're part of the extended family. And two times it happened that people were hired for the second time. And I guess my point here is that, like, it's put into structure, all of this. And then don't be afraid of rituals. 2 points left now. Rituals or ceremonies or celebrations or whatever. Like when you're working in a creative company, many people, like all the people, not the leaders, like anyone, come up with some crazy ideas for a routine, what we should do on a certain occasion or anything. And then suddenly it becomes a routine. And when it happens over 10 times, boom, it sticks. So I think you should keep those rituals and things you do, and you put a name on it, and we should just build and give it more energy, because that is what makes the culture. And so we have something called the brain fuel program, and everybody uses the word brain fuel now because we, invented it, and it's like this it's a self-study program, how to get better at your design discipline. And we have the X Factor program, which is our own customer journey, service design, Firesoul, Launchpad, Nerdkid, the Yolk project, and blah, blah, blah. So you can have all your mission and vision and values and purposes and stuff like that. But my trick is that keep what sticks. Keep what is said in every week on workplace and Slack and in the offices. When you see that these words that you created together are being used, that is when you have good. That is the culture creator, I think. The last point here is about never stagnate. And so I think it's important to show that your company has ambition. So whether it's like to grow, to create more offices around the world, to create more opportunities for the people working there, or whether it's within sustainability of different kinds, or whether it's diversity or inclusion. We're so happy that we have 20 plus different nationalities now, but we're still a pretty white company, so we have a long way to go. And being ambitious and never stagnant when it comes to diversity, I think is really important. And also when it comes to doing good for the globe and sustainability. And I guess we have a big ambition when it comes to the employee experience and having office spaces with chefs, so that people want to come to work and meet, and so that innovation can happen in that nest. Yeah. Okay. So these are a sum up of my points. It's very okay. Maybe I'll talk through it actually. Like number one, dare to share. Dare to share everything. Like share, be vulnerable. Number two, give and take feedback. Practice on that and do it all the time. Trust your coworker. Number four, leadership is actually a skill. You can practice that muscle as well. 5, all of this soft skills can be put into structure and framework for the culture to blossom. Number 6, create an employee experience from before, during, and after the employee is in your company. Number 7, take care of your rituals and routines to create that great culture. And then number 8, be ambitious and never stagnate, and talk about what you're going to be ambitious on. Yeah. And then if you want to know more, we have lots of articles. So just check our YouTube and our webpage, and we have articles that go like moving up without pushing anyone down, and why freedom and trust are key for creativity and innovation, and 7 secrets to our innovation culture, blah, blah, blah. And as you can see, my CEO and dear friend Ulla Sommerfeld is a big reason for a lot of this. Yeah. That was a lot, I guess. Now I'm really excited about your questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Carl. If you want to, stop screen share and we can kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Fantastic. Yeah. Again, thank you so much for that amazing presentation. So much content, and you're just so animated. I really appreciate that. I can, feel your passion and your energy. So let's jump right into the questions. We have a lot of questions here. You in the beginning of your presentation, you talked about, and it's amazing that you showed us some industrial designers that you admire, and a lot of them are your coworkers. And that's fantastic. A question here. They're asking if you have a favorite industrial designer, maybe not from eggs, but outside of eggs, maybe someone that inspired you. Is there anyone that?
Yeah, of course. And I would take any questions now. It doesn't have to be on the theme of creating company culture, because I love to get challenged on anything the first person that comes into mind now is Torgny Fjellsgaard. He's on Instagram as well, and he did the whole transportation design education, but he went into bikes. And that for me is that's amazing. Like you went into bikes, which is a human powered, for mostly getting more and more electric, still kind of sustainable, but you're getting into human powered transportation design, and you're drawing these awesome bike concepts for Cannondale, and that to me is, yeah, that is really cool. So definitely I admire him. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think you touched base on this, but we're in a very uncertain times with recent graduates looking for work, and you were kind of in the same situation um, where you couldn't find work just because there wasn't any and much work going around. What is your advice for current industrial design graduates?
Um, so we have like this when there's many applicants, we have this software as well online where you go into open applications and you send in an application there, and it's basically not that human of a customer journey or an employee journey, I would say. So that's one of the reasons. But then another reason I would say you just be on it, like yeah, we say in Norwegian, like don't be afraid to chat with me on Instagram. You don't, just remind the people. They are people as well. So just remind them that you're eager to work for them and saying how you're doing now, like and so how your company doing now? Are you still not looking for anyone with my profile, or I have an updated portfolio here. So my advice is to don't be afraid to chat and with the people inside of the companies, because they're people. And I don't know if all of them are as happy chatting as me, but um, I don't know if I have any more advice. Like for newly graduate, yeah, I guess it's all about putting yourself out there, but in many different ways. Not only the standard, I sent you an email 2 months ago where with all the attachments, and I would say like don't be afraid to get in touch in many different channels. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Dare to share.
Yeah. Great.
Um, do you now does eggs does eggs hire recent graduates, or do you also hire experienced or just experienced designers?
Definitely newly graduates and internships as well. Like the employment rate now is a bit down at our place as well. But I have to talk about eggs in general, like how it normally is, and we're definitely different than nonfiction from last time in that sense. Like we definitely want the newly graduates, and we want to put them out there, give them responsibility, and train them, because they have so many new perspectives and skills, and really in touch with yeah, a lot of things happening in society. So I mean, in the beginning I was talking about one of the interns, Bendik, but I have many, like Tim Schwartz. He came from Umeå. He's going back to Umeå now, together with Marius Kindler and that crew. And he has such a great portfolio, like he's making this amazing stuff, and he's only the fourth year. Like he makes 100 times more amazing stuff than me, and so that's why we need young people. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And with everything that's happening, with COVID, how has that affected the work that you guys do, as far as like, your life, and generally how will COVID shape the future of work and design?
Oh my God. Yeah. That's okay. How many hours do we have? Uh, um,
I'm assuming you guys are working remotely right now.
no, not now, because like we had it a bit before the US. Like I don't know where people are from on this chat here, but in Norway, we're back to almost normal now. I mean, the virus is out there. Like in my town, like 2 or 3 people every day get, you know, but we're back to normal. We're in the office, all of us, and we can have clients for lunch. And so as long as we are 1 meter apart, there's no mask, no anything. Just advice not use public transportation during rush. So we're really lucky to be back to almost normal. I really appreciate it. But when it was going on for 2 or 3 months in March and April, then me with kids, the kindergarten was closing. So then when eggs, I felt like a leader when eggs needed me the most to participate. I was like hindered. I only had 2 days a week to work in
Mm.
total. And then the younger people who are used to being super social and stuff like that, they had totally different situations. So, But how will it shape the future? I guess many companies having offices worldwide are pretty used to working on video. But it's really cool that we actually got to test it really hard to run huge workshops with lots of participants and Miro boards and whiteboards and stuff like that digitally. And so I love that it's a preview of how we can how we maybe not need to travel that much as we think. At the same time, like we put a lot of energy into our office spaces. So but now during COVID, I'm thinking like maybe a bit too much energy into the office space. But that's just me. Like it's important. Let's hope to get back there, and it's really an inspiring place to be. So, but how will it change the future of working for designers? I don't have those very futuristic thoughts. I'm like, yeah, we were working remotely so much from before anyway. Like me, I was developing these with the vacuum and sharing the vacuum screen as I sketch with the clients everywhere in Norway, and having this technique that you sketch together almost like you're in the same room. And so I don't see the very big difference that happened really, because yeah.
Okay, that's great. Now here's a really good question, and this is a question that's asked by Kelly Custer. How did eggs build traction in the early days to attract such great ID projects?
Oh yeah, that is a great question. Like how and those great ID projects is developed the last 5 years, as I showed. And so the 10 years before that, I haven't showed anything from those 10 years, but I could in another lecture, of course. But there were some cool projects then as well. It depends if you mean like my first startup or my second startup, like because my first startup was in 2004 and the second one, Eggs, 2011, basically the same company, all the people stayed on board. And how did we attract the first clients in 2004? It was because our friends in our class, they got other jobs. They went to work for some corporate company down there, and the other one went to work with some bank or some consumer packaging brand, and they're like, oh shit, I have too much to do in this company, and they're like, oh, but my classmates just started their own company. I was just gonna call them, because then they already knew us, like they knew what I was good at and my friends were good at. And it was more like it's kind of like take care. It's kind of like what I heard on the Minor Details podcast once, that about freelancing is like, I think you should just be friendly and open to everyone you meet, because you never know what's going to happen next. Like an applicant for Eggs could in the next situation be the ones we want to work with in Eggs. So you have to just treat everyone in the community with respect, and get to know each other, because then you want to work together later. So I guess that's what happened. So the first clients came in 2004 through our classmates.
Yeah, and it's a small community. You definitely want to be nice to everyone so that you get business from that.
Yeah. I guess you've been talking a lot about that as well. Yeah. I totally agree. Like, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, here's a question, speaking of Minor Details, that's asked by Nick Baker. What's the future of your own career? Is it Eggs till you die, or would you retire or start another business?
I'll retire tomorrow. No, just kidding. I am speaking about the last point, ambition and never stagnate. That is, I experienced the people that we met, my colleagues that I met in 2011, and also some of the colleagues I had from before. They are super ambitious on stuff that I am not ambitious on. If you ask me, like, Carl, I'm super ambitious when it comes to testing new industrial design methods all the time and delivering top-notch quality within industrial design. So, but if you ask me about like, and I learned to become ambitious when it comes to diversity, because I really seen the use of it. I really seen the effect it has on me and how it inspires me, how it makes me want to go to work every day. So now I'm also super ambitious when it comes to, growing as a number of employees growing, because many people don't want to grow, but many of my colleagues do want to grow because of that exact reason, to have more inspiring colleagues. But if you ask me about my own career, where am I in 10 years from now? Is that I don't have that clear answers on those things. And my gut feel is like, yes, eggs till I die. And let's just make eggs never stagnate. Let's do some more new stuff the next 10 years in eggs. Maybe I'm not the creative director anymore, but I'm still in eggs. So that's how I feel. And so one thing we did the last 5 years, we spent like $1 million on offices in the world to build them. And so I think and I hope that it was valuable for the growth and value of the company and stuff like that. But it's expensive and it demands a lot of energy. So maybe the next step is something different, developing a school or something.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, that's a very good answer. Now we're going to shift conversation over to company culture, because you talked a little bit about company culture. And this is a question asked by Marcos. He loves the way that you talk about creating and nurturing company culture at Eggs. What have you found most challenging about your role as a creative director?
Oh, good question. Yeah. Like being a leader or even a designer, you have, a constant bad conscience about, because you have so many things in your to-do list and so many I feel like we have many different responsibilities. And so there's constantly 3 responsibilities being overlooked. And so I think maybe getting kids was my biggest challenge. Like 6 years ago, I got my first kid, and then so I had 2 kids, 2 boys, Leonard and Lorenz, and I love them. And it's the most amazing thing that happened to me. And they're 2 and 5 years old. But it's also the most challenging thing that has happened to me and my professional career and responsibility, is because I did not maybe see it then when I got my first kid, that this is just a small period of your life where you cannot perform that much as you used to do. And so I went for years and had this bad conscience about not performing well enough, not being present for my people, not being able to travel to Oslo that much, the main office, and to be together with people and seeing them. And so that is, I think, the biggest challenge. Yeah. And maybe my second biggest challenge is that I'm a designer and I love to nerd and sketch and tools and skills and so there are other people that are better than me on strategic working. Where are we 5 years from now? And I feel like a creative director should have that as well, but you cannot be a leader can never be perfect. Either you're more of a people's person, maybe like me, and love the skills and stuff like that, or you're more of a super strategic, structured project manager type of person, and you cannot be perfect on all levels. So it's just that bad conscience that come into mind sometimes, And I think the biggest challenge must be the kids. Yeah.
Now, as speaking of challenges, what are some challenges that you face trying to push diversity at Eggs? That's a pretty heavy question too.
Yeah, it is. And then I'll try to answer. And I'm not seeing myself as the person that tries to push diversity at Eggs, if you know what I mean. Like the one because there are other people that are more ambitious than me than on growth. But I see it now that it's a big value in growing, becoming this huge diverse community. But I maybe it was a bit strange question, because I'm not responsible for the wonderful diversity kind of, I love it and I will continue to push for it, but I so much loved that there was someone in our company that cared about that stuff, and I do too now. So I guess that's the thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But what I do is like it depends on what you mean with diversity. Like I'm I'm very occupied with having more female designers, especially in industrial design and in mechanical engineering. So if you ask me what I push, I definitely push for that. And so we have a slightly better balance now. Like in eggs, we are pretty gender equal. Like when it comes to the number of people, like equal salary wise and that stuff like that is equal. But when it comes to number of people, I think we're all also equal. Um, but in the service design department, there are mostly women, and in the industrial design department, there are mostly men. So I'm pushing for more women in industrial design, which is, yeah. So actually, I have some opinions there. You're right.
That's awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah. And then hiring, for instance, Lucas from Brazil was an amazing contribution to the industrial design department, and inspires me also every single week. So
Yeah, fantastic. And for those who don't know who Lucas is the founder of Weekly Design Challenge. So look them up and look up Weekly Design Challenge. They do amazing stuff.
we met on Instagram.
Absolutely. Can you share a little bit about the design culture in Scandinavia? In the US, design, especially industrial design, is really hidden from the mainstream culture. So if you can share a little bit about the design culture in Scandinavia, and that's a question asked by Nick as well.
Yeah. The thing is, like I only had one job in my life. I had this one job for 16 years, and I kind of stayed in one place as well. So I didn't travel around and work other places. So it I'm basing most of my comments on what I hear, not on what I experience myself. And so I have to like. But that being said, when I said to clients, I like 16 years in one company, but I work with hundreds of different clients, so I'm super experienced. Anyway, uh, Scandinavian design culture. Uh, Definitely, industrial design is also hidden still. I think we talk more here about a designer in general. So uh, when it comes to hardware designer or mechanical engineer or industrial designer that works with physical products, yeah, it's kind of hidden as well, I think, uh, especially since Norway doesn't have that many, consumer brands that we make a lot of these consumer goods that everyone uses. Like, okay, but we have made some chairs and some packaging for the stores and some candy and different things, but mostly it's business to business stuff. So I guess when I meet new people, I have to say to them that every physical object around you has been designed by somebody. Luckily, I don't have to explain to them that I don't design factories, but it's still quite hidden. Like we're so much smaller than architecture or those PR companies. Those are much bigger and more traditional and more known. So, but we don't. Maybe it's like I don't talk so much about industrial design. Maybe to people in general in Norway because I only talk about eggs designers, and all the different things we can design in eggs. So hardware is just one of many things.
Okay.
But I can answer a lot of industrial design questions as well. Of course, it's more hidden as well.
Right.
About the design, the modern design, Scandinavian design. Yeah, I guess my point there was that we do a lot of business to business and engineering stuff as well, or I mean industrial products that also has to be user friendly and look beautiful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that was a great answer, but like I said, I haven't worked so many other places, so um, it's it's not so easy. I guess Lucas would be the perfect one to add since he's been working now in eggs for 3 years and he's from Brazil. He's been working in Brazil and talks to everyone all the time. he would be the perfect guy to answer. What's the difference between eggs and other companies, between Norway and other countries? Yeah.
I'll follow up with this. All right, here's a pretty heavy question, and this question is asked by Will. You talked about creating a great company culture that designers want to work at, and your journey from industrial design to a business that offers services across all facets of innovation. How do you, maybe naming a challenge or an example, tackle the translation of the great value that designers bring into business value that non-designers, leaders understand in your company context? That's quite a mouthful, by the way.
Question is it? Can I read it as well in the Q&A? Yeah. No.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just sent it to you as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but like challenge, or maybe naming a challenge or example tackle. Maybe I'll try to answer. It's like, remember the pyramid of holistic impact, which I showed, and that the base and the fundament is the form and craft that we deliver, all of us industrial designers, every single time in a great way. So we form products, but you know, the last decades, design has evolved into becoming more strategic working, like creative problem solving. You can see a problem and then you can solve it in many different ways. It doesn't now only have to be hardware. It can be hardware combined with software, or even service design. Like service design department in Eggs is like the double of the industrial design now, and I guess that's one of the changes that has happened in at least in Scandinavia, but also maybe the world, is that I think it's also a reason for our ability to grow faster, is that the understanding of what a designer can bring is more there now than it used to be. At least that is the thing in my case, because in 2004 it was crap, the understanding of design, and now it's the thing now that is so different is you can measure it on a thing, like you can measure it on salaries. Like my coworkers get phone calls from headhunters every week, and they say you're gonna receive more salary. There's a war for talent now. My employee experience officer, he tells me there's a war for talent, and I never experienced that because I came from a hard startup reality and I work in industrial design. So, but he says within strategy, service design, business design, and even digital design, and there's a war for talent. So now the designers can pick and choose their salary and workplace. And so in Eggs, we said we're gonna have a great culture and working with that every day. But where am I going with this? I'm thinking, like, I think that the understanding of design from economic people and law people and leaders and has increased. So if that was answer to the question, I don't know if you understood it in the same way, Hector, but we all know, which are in this meeting, that designers can bring enormous value. And I have been through a journey for the last 16 years, and I have seen it increase. But let's say it increased from 40% understandability to 48. You know, there's still a lot of work to do to bring design where it adds value and to make people understand how we work. And there's always a bit of a magic factor in our also structured process. So yes, as well, there are challenges to explain. I still meet a lot of people that don't understand.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for answering that. I'm going to ask a couple more questions and we can kind of wrap this up. One question, while you're hiring someone at Eggs, what do you look for in a design portfolio?
X factor. No, but X factor is an expression we use about many things, but we use it maybe slightly more about the personality and consultant of the person, the ability to communicate and all that stuff. Um, but in a portfolio, oh my God, yeah, I guess because sometimes the reality is that you browse through them quite fast, and so not always do you have time to read a lot of text. So I have to say I appreciate visuals and not so much text. And and I like a lot of visuals from like a few selected projects. So let's say you have 12 projects, and then you're mostly proud of 3 or 4 of them. So I would put most energy into 3 or 4 of them and showing visuals from all stages of the process. That is clearly so see that you can master different kinds of user insights, like being the user or observing different stakeholders or facilitating workshops together with a small client, and then you can translate that insight from and that knowledge from the industry or from users or anything. You can translate those directly into ideas, and that you can show ideation. Doesn't matter if it's hand sketches or whatever, as long as you show it, you can translate knowledge into ideas. And then I have to be honest, I do look for visuals when it comes to the further process as well. Like, so how cool are the renderings and stuff like that. So yeah, but as we moved into mechanical engineering as well, that could be a challenge because you're looking for the best mechanical engineer you want to get, and those are not always used to being visual, So then you have to look for other stuff. But I still get drawn to that portfolio, that mechanical engineer applicant that actually had a portfolio and did an effort to present it in a nice way. So even if it was in Word,
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, so I can send you my portfolio after this.
Yeah, I guess would be like honest for hours and see. Yeah, yeah, you're hired. Yeah.
Okay, so the last question, just to kind of put a cherry on top. We've been watching your Instagram channel and the content that you put out, and you are always you always have your kids around, and your kids are always drawing over your sketches exactly, and it just looks really fun. And I want to know, as a designer but also as a father, yeah, those are awesome. Would you want your kids to be to go into design, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yes, I would, because it's a creative profession. Like, I have an opinion that almost every profession can be creative, but there's something called the creative industry, and I think it's cool if you go to a school or you get a profession that uses both brains, like you can use your structured thinking, but also your creative thinking. And so, yeah, of course, I would love that if they went into something like that. And yeah, and then I have to dare to share something is that I have not reached the highest level of influencing yet. I'm telling everybody that vulnerability is the highest level, but I don't think I have reached that yet because uh, I don't know. Um, there are so many people that are even more honest than me on Instagram, and I'm thinking like when if the kids are drawing, it's one time a month, or uh, the reality is different in my life than on Instagram. Like, I'm posting when something cool happens, of course, but the reality is that when it happens every second week, it happens only for 5 minutes, and then I'm filming it, and then I'm on the phone, and then they leave because I'm suddenly on the phone and stuff like that. And I go like, oh, that's my bad conscience again. Oh my God. And so the reality is not always the same as on Instagram. But but we do a lot of fun together. We
Yeah.
bike, but I don't know. It's that is challenging as well. Like you want to contribute with the community so much on Instagram and on work, and at the same time you have a dad role, and yes, that is super challenging for that person who asked that question as well. For the most
Yeah.
challenge.
Maybe that's your legacy that you leave behind at Eggs is your kids take over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I since I'm not thinking further than like 2 or 3 years down the line, I need help from all of you guys to decide where I'm at in 20 years from now. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, Carl, thank you so much for being a guest on our Lens webinar series. I know it's about 10:30, p.m. your time. So I really appreciate you being up for this and for providing amazing insights. This session, once we finish the webinar, it will be recorded. We'll post it for those who missed it or for those who want to reference it later. But thank you again for everything. We really appreciate it. And like you mentioned, for those who are also following us, our community, we just jumped on Discord. So make sure you follow so that you can dare to share and you can be transparent and start a conversation with us. And I just shared a link in the conversation as well. We are having an After Lens today, so feel free to jump on After Lens. And After Lens is usually another Zoom call where people come forward and they express their thoughts and their opinions on this chat. So really appreciate it, Carl. Thank you a million. And I'm sure we'll be talking very soon.
I appreciate it very much as well. It's truly my pleasure, and I enjoy so much being social with you guys and interacting with all of you guys in the community, and to be able to have this link to different places of the world to develop the industrial design skills and community. That's just I'm a fire soul for that. So yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks everyone, and we'll see everyone very soon.